and I'll answer some questions at the end. But Orion, I will let you take it over from here.
Thanks, Kyle. Can you hear me okay? Yeah? All right. Well, quick introduction and about myself before I go into some of the details about the fund. Some of you may know me from before, talking with Kyle from years ago, but I'll just give you a quick recap. My name is Orion Depp, and I'm the managing partner of the Master Ventures Investment Division and the Master Ventures Polkadot VC Fund. So I became friends with Kyle about 10 years ago in 2010 when I was the CEO of an online tech investment bank that we took to $22 million in revenue in year one. Kyle and I kept in touch over the years. I learned a lot. I started as a dev intern for Apple Computers at the age of 17, obtained my MBA in investment management from a top school, and worked at a $1 billion hedge fund, finding holes in business models, performing forensic accounting research in order to create consistent alpha and fund returns in the investment management industry. In 2017, I became one of the first institutional sell-side altcoin analysts in the nation and initiated coverage on Binance's BNB coin at $6 with a price target of $100. Went on to cover Zcash, Decred, Dchain, and make a little bit of a name for myself in the industry. So Kyle called me about 6 months ago and told me that he had made great returns in Master Ventures and now wanted to do this for other people. He wanted to start an investment management division, starting with this amazing new blockchain that would develop into potentially 100 new blockchains, eliminate gas fees, and touch all aspects of humanity. And it was founded by the the co-founder of Ethereum, Gavin Wood. It was called Polkadot. So he and I talked, and we talked about what we wanted to do for the community. We wanted to pay back our supportive community of the paid network and ignition. We wanted to give them and ourselves similar IDO returns, but a much larger amounts of capital. We wanted to also help them sleep at night, live better lives, and avoid the volatility that's existed by directly investing in the crypto markets. And lastly, obviously, we want to do something that's groundbreaking and revolutionary, and we think we have that opportunity now at the Master Ventures Polkadot VC Fund. So without going into all the details of Polkadot, I'm sure all of you know quite a bit about it, but in a quick few words, Polkadot is very special. It's so robust that it can contain the Bitcoin and Ethereum blockchains within itself as one of its 100 parachains, and they can communicate with each other, and users can exchange Ethereum and Bitcoin with no fees and no exchange. And we believe that we're in the calm before the storm, right before the J-curve appreciation. And we also believe that the Polkadot Parachain auction design benefits from unprecedented market dynamics. Akala and Karura recently raised $100 million in Kusama in the first parachain auction in history. And this was 5 times what was expected on the street. So high-profile projects like Akala, Karura, Moonbeam, Moonriver, and Plasm Shiden will buy hundreds of millions of dollars of Kusama's token in order to win a parachain slot and in order to guarantee their financial success. These chains and projects will ask funds like ourselves to lend them Polkadot and Kusama, which will be paid back 100% to us, and also airdrop to us their native blockchain tokens for free in exchange for loaning them Kusama. So this is very similar to the private sale and the IDO process, except that many of these tokens won't easily be available to the investment community until they're already traded on PolkaSwap or on Binance or Karura's DeFi DEX. In particular, we think Akala, Karura, Moonbeam, Moonriver, and Plasm Shiden will potentially be the next compound, Maker, and even Ethereum. So with that being said, a little bit about Master Ventures. We believe at Master Ventures that we have the experience, the expertise, and the infrastructure and the team to execute the strategy as good or better than anyone on the street. If you can't tell by some of the people behind Kyle, we have almost 65 people in the organization at this point, which is up about 3 times in the past 3 months. So we're expanding quickly. We've been building in-house and readying our paid submission launch pads for build on DOT and Kusama and Parachain bids. We've also invested in the Web3 ecosystem projects like Reef, Split, Parastate, Unique, and Subsocial, some of which are already bidding for parachains as we speak. And lastly, we're very connected within the Web3 ecosystem, as well as Parity, the Substrate community and ecosystems. We've been building that community for some time. We know that the best DOT and Kusama projects come through the Web3 Foundation, which is spearheaded by Gavin Wood, the founder of Polkadot. We're one of the first to have access to these deals because of our connections. And of course, in addition to this, Paid received an investment from Binance Labs. So that creates an enormous amount of respect for us within the industry and opens a lot of doors for us. So before I go into the details of the fund, as you see in the bottom of the screen here, as a quick disclaimer, please note that this is not a solicitation to buy or sell an investment, and all investment decisions need to be made by reviewing our fund's marketing deck, term sheet, and subscription agreement. And we cannot accept U.S. investors. We're sorry, but this is just not available at this time. We are looking into this for the future. So let me quickly go into our team and who we are. You know who I am and you know who Kyle is, but let's talk about everyone else.
Orion, while you pull that up, I wanted to emphasize one thing real quick. I know that you touched on it, but I think it's important that people understand why we're. To be clear, I'm also bullish on other layer 1 or layer 0 infrastructure protocols, the things similar to Ethereum or Solana, Cardano. I think they're all going to be great and successful, and in fact, we will probably start looking at those ecosystems as well, you know, in the future. However, you have to understand just how revolutionary Ethereum was. Bitcoin was the ultimate revolution. I mean, it's such a crazy, advanced, insane concept that only a benevolent entity could drop into us, because without it, we will always live in a dictatorship type of world. That's great for currency. That process also needed to happen for business, for governance. And that's exactly what Ethereum enabled. Now, who was Gavin Wood, the founder of Polkadot? Well, Gavin Wood was the CTO for Ethereum, and also wrote the Solidity, the smart contracting language for Ethereum. So Gavin was absolutely instrumental in creating Ethereum. And Ethereum is a monster. It's the internet. It's going to be the future global internet. Now, Ethereum is decentralized, and there's now a lot of pain points with Ethereum. It's slow and expensive. And yes, they are working on it. And yes, Ethereum 2.0 will roll out eventually, and it will be exceptional. And I still am holding a lot of Ethereum. However, just like all of my failures in learning business, I learned along the way, and looking back, I would have done them all so much differently. It's the same thing that Gavin decided to do when he patted himself on the back along with Vitalik. They gave themselves a high five, and Gavin said, man, there's so much that we could have done differently, but it's decentralized already. So, and Ethereum network already has hundreds of billions of dollars of value on that protocol. So that means in order to make an upgrade at a protocol level, you have to be extremely careful, Things must be rigorously tested for many, many months, if not years, before infrastructure level upgrades are implemented. And then even if you want to, you need consensus from the network. So it is a long, painful, slow process to upgrade Ethereum. So Gavin said, I'm going to take all the lessons that I've learned. And now that I know how we could have done it way better, and I could build it way faster because I don't need permission from the network, because we're building it centralized initially. And that's what Gavin did. He had taken all the lessons from Ethereum and built a vastly superior blockchain that he knew that would be scalable for the future. And they built, you know, he could see all the problems and everything that a layer 0 infrastructure needed to do. And that's what they set out to build Polkadot to do. And now they've done it, and it's working. And this is why I am so incredibly bullish on Polkadot. From every aspect, it seems perfect to me. Back to you, Ryan.
Okay. All right. So all right, so talking a little bit more about our team over at the Master Ventures Investment Management Division. We started with 2 people. We have now have almost 10. You already know who Kyle and I are. Dane Hoyt, he is our partner in Master Ventures as well as paid. He's years of experience taking 50+ blockchain projects to IDO from the Master Ventures incubator ecosystem. And he takes a hands-on approach for projects in a private venture capital company. We also have Bridge Patel, which is formerly of Pronomos. Bridge Pronomos is a decentralized city VC funded by Peter Thiel. Bridge's background is State Street Investment Management and Merrill Lynch. Bridge is a partner and also spearheads operations and will be spearheading investor relations. Alex McLeod is one of our analysts. He comes to us from the University of Miami MBA program. He has a background in investment management and private client services, as well as cryptocurrency. He will also be spearheading investor relations. Rodrigo McKinley is an analyst and is a CFA. That's the highest designation within the investment management industry. He spent 7 years in Bloomberg as a research analyst, similar to CZ of Binance. Prior to that, he covered M&A as a quantitative and M&A analyst. And he also works in tokenomics models, such as those for paid, split, and many of our projects. Rodrigo will be spearheading our Parachain fund and return model and also contributing to strategy. Jonathan Kleiman. Jonathan is an advisor to our fund and is a candidate ambassador for the Polkadot Foundation, as well as an ambassador for the Akala Foundation. So Jonathan keeps us abreast of all news Polkadot, as well as connected to the industry. And lastly, we have Martha and Jessica, who respectively manage human resources and marketing. And also not on this list, but equally as important, are our accountants, CPAs for our fund, Friedman in New York City, who manage the who's who of funds, including Grayscale Investments and clients like Casper Labs, Centrium Advisors in Hong Kong that advise over 40 crypto, VC, and hedge funds, and our administrator, Zudrania, that is one of the largest crypto admins in the business, and with their acquisition of Tripolio, is the only crypto administrator to manage in-kind crypto contribution and perform crypto KYC and AML. So let's go ahead and jump in and let's talk more about strategy. We created this division to focus on top-notch tier 1 projects. So what does this mean exactly? When I first joined this division, we were talking about taking some projects public via Ignition, but that's changed a lot. We've obtained quite a bit of traction with an article in CoinDesk and CoinTelegraph, and we brought Rodrigo and Alex on as analysts. So now we're realizing that this is really the opportunity to take Master Ventures to the next stratosphere. So we will be focused on number 1, projects that will bid on Polkadot Parachains. Number 2, projects that will directly list to Binance. And number 3, projects who may IDO via platforms such as CoinList. So what this means is it gives us the opportunity to experience potentially far higher returns and also returns in which we can deploy a far larger amount of capital. Through our industry connections, we know most of the people in the industry and will receive deal flow in the seed rounds of the best projects. We have basically insider industry information. But this also means we can expedite the due diligence process and simply make far better decisions than anyone in the street because we built on these platforms and on these blockchains. So what does this mean in actual actions? Not words. It means, number 1, we're going to fund PLO1 deals, number 2, PLO2 deals, and number 3, early stage investments in the Polkadot ecosystem. So what this means, a PLO1 is simply a crowd loan. And some of you in the Master Ventures group, Telegram group asked, can we do this ourselves? And yes, you can fund a PLO1 yourself, essentially. However, what you can't get within a PLO2 is get access to the early stage seed investments that these projects need. So for example, Akala, Karura, or Plasma Scheiden, when they're raising capital, they will initially perform a seed round of, let's say it could be 10, 20, $100 million. That will be prior to their crowd loan. Then they will ask the strategic VCs that work in the Web3 sphere to then commit a large amount of Kusama, let's see a minimum of $1 to $5 million, to stake and bond to ensure that their Kusama crowd loan is a success. So those are things you can only get from being a strategic V in the Web3 sphere. And the vast majority of our fund returns will come from seed investments or these PLO2 style deals, to be clear. And since we built 2 projects that will now be bidding on Parachains, we can simply do far better due diligence on the DOT projects than others. We only plan to support a small number of projects that are bidding on Parachains because it will be a lot tougher to know who will win in the coming months. One of our other current strategies is portfolio management. So to be clear, this doesn't mean actively managing our funds and buying and selling Kusama. What it means is not only are we going to invest in Kusama and accumulate large amounts, but it means we'll stake those tokens from investments on Kora's DeFi DEX and PolkaSwap in order to yield farm and maximize the value for the limited time that we have access to capital within our fund. It also means we plan to employ hedging strategies. So this means shorting a small amount of coin within our portfolio and also employing derivatives to create more alpha and limit the maximum drawdown within our portfolio. So to give you a quick example of how we envision the value of Kusama, Kusama is currently valued at $1.8 billion. Now, if we estimate that there are 10 proposed auctions on Kusama within the next month, and likely 100 over the next 2 years, and each parachain requires a total commit of $100 million at minimum from all the parties total to effectuate that Polkadot parachain, and then throwing in the amount staked over this period of time in Kusama, which is around 25 to 50%, we assume that should lock up 2 to 3 times the amount of the fully diluted market cap of Kusama, and in the longer term, most likely 10 to 15 times the market cap of Kusama. So combined with investments, the PLO1, the PLO2, early stage, as well as portfolio management, including hedging strategies, and accumulating Kusama at these levels, we believe that our strategy is both perfect in a bull and a bear market because of the intrinsic demand from the parachain auctions. This is simply something that's unprecedented, and we believe this is the time to strike. This is right before the J curve, and while everyone is afraid and there's blood in the streets, this is the time to take action. So to be candid with you, we intended to launch the fund 45 days ago, but we had some reservations. It was an irrationally exuberant market, and we brought on Rodrigo and Alex, which are amazing analysts. We modeled out the returns and the risk, and we wanted a better entry point. And right now, with Kusama under $350 and with Polkadot under $22, we believe this is the perfect time. So I'll walk you briefly through our financial model in case you're interested, for any of you who are hardcore financial geeks out there. So this is our financial model that we built for our fund. As you can see, this is quite comprehensive, and it goes over the entire lifetime of Polkadot Parachains. It's comprehensive. But rather than go through the model in detail, why don't I just highlight for you some of the key factors. Let me first zoom in here because this is way too small for most of you to see. Okay, so you see here the first layer. This is not the first layer. Let me scroll up here. The first layer in these rows simply calculates the timing of all the parachain offerings and how they return to the market after the lease period expires. So we have some dummy variables put in here because our information is proprietary, but there's a length of the auction during the first campaign, the break between the auctions, the number of slots offered, and some general estimates. For example, if there are 100 parachain slots, how many of those may end up being common good utility slots, and that offsets the number of slots up for auction. Next, we talk about our estimated target investment size on each one of these auction dates, the sum of our working capital with stable coins, the number of projects we're looking into, and the max investment opportunity. Next, we go into calculations on,
Orion, so if you could zoom in a little bit more, please.
Sure. Tell me when's good.
Thanks, John.
Let's try 125%. What's that?
Jan, good or no? Maybe a little bit more. I mean, I'm looking at it too, and I can't really see.
I have glasses on, so it helps.
That should be good.
Wow, this is really zoomed in.
That's good.
There we go. Okay, so the third layer simply calculates how DOT and Kusama cycle in and out of staking from the auction bids to the lease staking for the winning bids and back to the staking bids for the losing bids. And this is set by the rhythm and the size of the opportunities in the first two layers. So here you see the amount of the Kusama locked in successful projects, the Kusama from the winning projects, lease expiries, and so on. Next, we have the portion of our fund that comes from the rewards offered by the projects that win the bids, and also the early stage investments. So these include the native airdrop tokens. We have the value locked in the new lease. For example, we have the SAF tokens that are claimable, unlocked, and so on, our token rewards that are received. And our liquidations. And lastly, but equally as important, is our general ledger or our cash flow statement. And that is for our main fund general ledger. So this layer calculates the fund expenses, how the Kusama, DOT, and SAF purchases are financed from the fund's initial stablecoin holdings, and how they generate the calculations that are used to derive the distributions to their investors and their returns. So the thing about a model like this is it's very simple. It's very similar to a discounted cash flow. It identifies the key value drivers of the fund's return, that allows us to look at what happens to the performance over a range of value drivers. So that gives us a broader picture of what the fund performance might look like, even with all the uncertainties involved, systemic risk or otherwise, and allows us to perform sensitivity analysis by manipulating the different variables in the model. So I won't bore you with that anymore. All right, so let's talk briefly about something more fun, which is the actual fund and the fund terms. Let's see if I can pull that up actually here. Do I have that ready? All righty. So the fund's terms. Our fund is called the Master Ventures Polkadot VC Fund, which actually stands for Master Ventures Polkadot VC Foundation. It's a $30 million fund. The term length is 30 months or 2.5 years with an optional 1 and 1 year. So what this means is this allows us to invest in approximately 50 Kusama auctions or 10 Polkadot auctions at minimum, and up to 100 Kusama and 100 DOT auctions, which would be the life of those parachain auctions. And of course, if things are going well, we will extend for the life of the DOT and Kusama ecosystem, which would mean an additional year or two. You also see here, it says subjective quarterly distribution of profits after the first fund's anniversary, first year anniversary. And what this means is that 1 year and 1 day after the fund's creation, we intend to start distributing some of the profits. We do want to help investors regain their initial capital if that's possible. And this is also for short-term capital gains purposes. We found that the vast majority of our investors reside in countries that can benefit because of short-term capital gains treatment if we just simply wait 367 days after the fund's creation. Other profits will be recycled to create more profit. And once we feel that the capital amount is too high and there's a lot of diminishing returns, we'll go ahead and close the fund and return investors' capital to them. In terms of the fund's minimum, you see the fund's minimum is $100,000 minimum. That is something that's set to regulatory agencies. We can't go any lower. And you'll also see that we have a co-investment minimum. So what this is in our term sheet, we have a specific area called co-investment beneficiaries. So investors of $500,000 or more, we can go ahead and offer to them a certain number, probably around 20 slots, the opportunity to invest alongside us, which means we will attempt for them to obtain a direct SAFT or set aside an investment vehicle that allows for these funds to invest with us. These can be high net worth individuals or funds or other LPs. So this is something that's never been done before, but of course Kyle came up with. He's very creative. And after his experience with paid and ignition, we wanted to do something very similar, but on a much larger level. Next, you see our management fee and performance fee. We charge 3% per annum and a 30% performance fee. So what this means is this 3% is charged quarterly, or 0.75%. So this limits our drawdown from the inception. We don't charge it all up front. And in terms of how we drive to 30%, we performed a comps analysis on hedge funds and other funds in the industry. We found that most hedge funds or diversified crypto holdings funds charge 2 and 20. ICO or early stage funds charge 3 and 30. And ecosystem funds tend to go up from there. For example, Panteras and other ecosystem funds, their first Pantera ecosystem fund had a minimum of $1 million, a 7-year term, and also had no subjective distribution. So we realized that the majority of our community has invested in IDOs and wants a smaller time horizon. So we brought this down to a $100,000 minimum and 2.5 years, with the additional years being optional and subjective to the investment committee. We also decided on a percentage that was in the middle of the crypto universe percentage, simply because this is our first fund and we want to prove ourselves to everyone. And of course, we are also investing in this fund ourselves. So we do put our money where our mouth is. On the bottom here, you see Panama is our jurisdiction. We initially looked at Cayman. We looked at the Cayman Islands, British Virgin Islands, and we realized over time that Cayman is becoming increasingly connected to the United States through FATCA and through the IRS. And since we're not accepting US investors, we thought this was unfair for our investment public. We also want to protect our investors' privacy. So we chose Panama. It's the most flexible for the parachain auction design and the most flexibility for tax purposes and for international investors. And lastly, let's talk about transparency. So we intend to report on a quarterly basis. This includes a reporting unaudited financial statements and a summary of all the actions, purchases, and distributions, liquidations by our fund, as well as reasoning behind our actions. And also on our investment portal by Sudrania, investors can view their assets in real time, their values in real time, as it pertains to Kusama and the liquid portions of the fund. In addition, we will be launching a Telegram announcement channel and issuing email updates monthly with a summary of the actions of the fund. And lastly, Kyle and I will obviously be personally tweeting insights, all things that we do on a day-to-day basis within the Polkadot ecosystem. I think we're going to be very ingrained in the ecosystem, so it'll be a lot of fun to follow us on Twitter and see what we're doing at the Master Ventures Polkadot Fund. So those are the basics of the fund. And now I think we can go ahead and talk about a little bit about process and about how to invest in the actual fund. So after this webinar, you'll go ahead and you'll receive an email from Sudrania, which is our fund administrator, which invites you to register for the fund, view the fund's deck, and also the fund's term sheet. And after that, you'll be invited to sign a detailed subscription agreement, which includes KYC and AML. And you'll be asked to send a small test transaction of 100 USDT to our fund's wallet. So once approved, after 1 to 3 business days by our third-party administrator, Sudrania, we will go ahead and confirm receipt. And that's it. You will be invited to join the Master Ventures Polkadot VC Fund and join our family of funds.
I do want to be clear on this. We did make this announcement about a while back and opened up an interest form. There's already about $75 million in soft commitments that have been allocated. So we believe that with the recent market corrections and a lot of market signals are telling me that we are looking quite bullish quite soon. I know that it might not feel like that to you guys, but trust me, when there is a lot of fear, it's typically a great time to buy. And so we have been already speaking with a lot of these interested funds and investors. We do plan on wrapping up the fundraise quite quick. And so we will be looking for 2 things when it comes to accepting funds. One is how quickly it can be deployed, but 2 is strategic value that might be able to come in from our LPs. So I just want to make that clear, just so that you are aware. There is a tremendous amount of demand at this point, and we do have just a limited amount of space. I want to say that.
Thanks, Kyle. Yeah, to be clear, there are probably about 20 slots available in the co-investment category that you'll see in the term sheet. So to just tell you about the process again, everything's automated via Sudrania. We want to make this as easy as possible for everyone. You'll see that the subscription agreement is quite detailed. So what we've done is we built out an FAQ for you. Obviously, we can't give you legal advice. You have to rely on CPAs and attorneys yourself. But nevertheless, we've created an FAQ that goes over all the items we've discussed here in the webinar, as well as every single line item that's in the subscription and beneficiary contribution agreement. So it saves you the time from having to Google everything and understand all the tax laws. It's comprehensive. In addition, if you have questions and need help from us in terms of the onboarding process, you can always email us at invest@master.ventures. That email is sent to all the partners of the fund.
Can you repeat that again, please? Was it invest@master.ventures or was it? Yeah,
invest@master.ventures.
Okay.
Thanks. And then there'll also be a Telegram group channel. And lastly, Rajesh Patel and Alex Miklet, which spearhead investor relations, the email that you will receive from Sudrania, the invite email, will have both of their telegrams. So if you have any detailed questions, please obviously look at the FAQ first or email us. But if you have detailed questions for the onboarding process, feel free to add them on Telegram and ask them any questions, and their telegrams will be available in the invite. That's it. I think that's a mouthful, Kyle. So why don't we open up and see if anyone has any questions. Go from there.
Yeah, there are some questions in here that I would like to start answering. So so this one says, how will you allocate the deals between your own personal investments, Master Ventures, or Master Ventures Polkadot VC Fund? How do you align interest? That's a great question. Thank you for asking. First of all, like I said, I am bullish on other infrastructure outside of the Polkadot ecosystem. So from a personal side, I will probably be deploying into some of those. We do plan on rolling out another fund in the not too distant future that is a more generalized fund. This Polkadot fund is very specific to Polkadot because of the way the economics work. but more importantly, I have a lot. I contributed a significant amount of my portfolio as a general partner of this fund, and so I actually all the work that we do will no longer be on behalf of ourselves personally, but on behalf of the fund. So if it comes down to anything Polkadot ecosystem, where we are putting all of our attention, and we haven't mentioned this yet, but one of the reasons that we are so well connected into the Polkadot ecosystem is because Paid Network is going for a parachain itself, and therefore we are quite familiar with everybody in the Web3 and Polkadot ecosystem. They know that we have this fund, and we have regular calls to make sure that we are always the best projects that are coming up are brought to our attention for us to support them before anybody else would even know about them. So to be clear, like my whole track record in my career, when it comes to making sure that I take care of other people first, it's the same thing going on here. So we are switching from investing personal capital on a personal level to investing our personal capital, putting our money where our mouth is into the fund, and that's basically how we align interest. It's 100% aligned. This is how we leverage, and basically this benefits our entire ecosystem. How much skin does MV have within the Polkadot fund? It's in the millions. That's all I'll say. That's plural, millions. So I bought Dot and Kusama quite early, and that's that. Let's see. Can you walk us through a typical transaction the fund will undertake from start to exit? It's basically a process of due diligence. It's our job, and our property. It's a combination of a lot, right? So how do we source these excellent deals? Because the majority of our money will be made from these early stage investments. That's where the majority of the money will be made. This is where we can expect things like anywhere from our 10 to our 100x on our investments from these projects, and so that comes from us being one of the predominant Polkadot fund in the world, our marketing. So projects know that they should come to us for support because of our DOT and KSM assets. And so one is identifying the right projects early enough. And that comes from support also from Web3 Foundation and Polkadot coming to us and bringing projects to us as well. And then it's a standard process of due diligence, right? So it's looking, understanding who the team is, your standard thorough due diligence process. And then it's going to our analyst and Rodrigo and trying to understand how much capital shall we allocate to this particular project. And then also figuring out how we're going to pair that with the crowd loan when it comes time to do that. What is our total allocation into that project? Split between the assets that we will loan to them as well as our direct investment. It's a good question. How do you know products will be listed directly on Binance? My understanding is that Binance applications are not guaranteed and have strict rules for listing. How can you know in advance? This is a great question. And if you guys aren't aware that Binance invested into Paid Network. So we have a very close relationship with the folks at the Binance investment team, as well as the Binance listing team. And that also goes for other exchanges like Huobi, for example. Typically, we do know that Binance and Huobi and Kraken are all very, very bullish on the Polkadot ecosystem, so much so that they have also created their Polkadot ecosystem funds and are supporting Parachain crowd loans. So it's safe to say, but not guaranteed, that the tier 1 projects that are building Parachains will almost certainly be listed on Binance and likely Huobi and Kraken. But we tend to know these things in advance. The fact of the matter is that not all of them probably will on day one, but they all are likely to be listed there eventually. But that's just one of the methods to go to market, right? Another one would be CoinList, or whatever. But these are tier 1 projects, and these are the things that exchanges like Binance and Huobi, that you don't have to beg as a project, as a tier 1 project building your parachain. You do not have to beg Huobi and Binance to be listed. They're going to want to do it because they have significant upside in it as well. Kyle, my question is, do you really think DOT will hit $500? And yeah, so basically, this is how I feel about Polkadot. So right now, you know, Ethereum, I think everything is severely undervalued, but there's so much infrastructure, and like when it comes to the ecosystem and adoption of Polkadot, it is all been thought about, and people like Moonbeam, Plasm, and actually PaidChain ourselves, we are building methods, we are building backward compatibility adoptions for Ethereum to to Polkadot. So we will soon start to see, as soon as these middleware solutions that allow the backward compatibility to launch, we will see a lot of people fleeing from Ethereum into Polkadot because of the faster transactions, the cheaper transactions, and the native interoperability that is built in within the Polkadot ecosystem. With that being said, if Polkadot only went to the current market cap of Ethereum, that's a 14x. However, I believe that Ethereum is severely undervalued. And to be honest with you, again, for the reasons I described earlier, the fact that Gavin from Ethereum built Polkadot, and it's right now in its current state is much, 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 much better than Ethereum is. I see no reason why Polkadot wouldn't be at an equal or greater market cap than Ethereum. Yes, it's true that predominantly everything is built on Ethereum, but Polkadot thought about that, and there will be so much demand for it that yes, I definitely believe that 500. And in fact, I think that in the 5-year perspective, 10-year perspective, 500 would be quite conservative. Can non-US funds invest in this fund, and will there be a preferential access for funds invest? Yes, that's exactly, yeah, of course you can. You can invest, and yes, this preferential access is for this $500,000 or more. Again, and what that does is we will do our best to negotiate a separate investment agreement for any of our investors that have contributed 500K or more, and that gets you your own investment opportunity with that project directly, meaning that we're not involved in managing that whatsoever, and that is huge upside to you as well. And if there is, we also have, if any of you watching this want to allocate a significant amount of capital into the fund, 500K or more, and you believe that you can add significant strategic value, please feel free to have a conversation with us one-on-one. And there are some additional things that we can offer you. If you can bring us significant value, we can have a symbiotic relationship. We have some plans for that. No need to talk about it on this webinar, though. Metcalf's law should see DOT and KSM overtaking ETH quite handily. Yeah, I mean, I believe so as well. So, and then yeah, the last, this is what I already answered this, but Polkadot is I just know, like, guys, I've been I have always been looking ahead of the curve, most of my entire life, looking where things are heading, and this is why I decided to go so heavily into this ecosystem right now, because I know that the Polkadot ecosystem is eventually $1 trillion asset, for sure, and this is where the future is going to live. So we decided to dedicate our team of the smartest minds with the best experience into enabling us to leverage your capital and our capital to contribute the most value we can to what I believe to be the best base layer protocol. Yeah. So anyway, I'm really excited about it. Like, couldn't be more excited to get going. Yeah, I'm excited, and thank you guys. Orion, is there anything else that you wanted to add, or do we have any more FAQs that we need to answer?
I don't think so. A lot of these were just answered, and we've created a comprehensive FAQ that will be within the investor documents area of our section that probably goes over all these 10 times over. So I think we're good.
Yeah, and this is and currently DOT and KSM price mirrors BTC price behavior. Why do you think DOT KSM will break the trend even when ignoring supply and demand? Some projects just burned a heap of tokens and prices didn't move. What you have to understand, Peter, is like this is still a very nascent or new market, you know, and everything in the crypto space is quite correlated to each other. You know, what we see is Bitcoin is king, and Bitcoin, in my opinion, will always be king, and it tends to lead the direction. Well, not lead, but it tends to lead upward price movement. So we see Bitcoin run up, and then altcoins follow, and altcoins will have, you know, a much higher pump than Bitcoin will in terms of percentage. But also in a downtrend, altcoins are things that tend to fall the quickest. What we will see eventually is that everything is so much speculation right now, that a lot of the price is determined by speculation. And eventually we will start to see a lot of uncorrelated assets within the crypto space. We will not see this direct correlation where everything's red or everything's green. As projects switch from a speculative price discovery to an actual utility price discovery, we will see a much different and more mature market. Yeah, and I think, guys, I mean, what is your approximate estimate return? How the return will be paid? Example, if the token you invested in or stable coins, if it doesn't exit, are there any penalties? So I don't know, Orion, you can probably answer this better.
Yeah, we can't go into the approximate returns, but you know, what we've modeled, we think is far better than anything that you could get by investing by yourself. So we have a few different strategies. It's not only investing in these parachains models, but also the seed investments, and then staking both in Kusama as well as the native tokens, Uncore's DeFi DEX in between, as well as the stable coins. So you're just going to see really juiced up returns if all goes well. And we think it will, because we're just starting. There's only been one parachain. So it is Metcalfe's law. Things are going to be amazing. And the returns will be paid back in stable coin. But if for some reason we have a large amount of other coin, we will go ahead and distribute that out to investors as well.
Yeah, I think even we cannot first of all, we cannot give you projection on returns. We've done some modeling in our head, but I don't think it's legal for us to tell you on this. But what I can tell you is that at this point, you know, you're essentially investing and trusting us to manage it. And you know, all I can tell you is that you know, since I started investing quite heavily in late 2014 or late 2015, it's been 6 years, and you know, a couple $100,000 has turned into approximately about $500 million under management. And so usually when people, you know, I know that a lot of people that maybe more legacy investors might be watching this, and these types of returns seem like not possible. But if you go back and you look at the deck, you will see the types of investments that we have made. And you know, you normally in a legacy Silicon Valley VC fund, you know, they're lucky to, over the course of their entire, maybe a 15-20 year fund, they might have done, you know, 3 or 4 unicorns or something. 5, you know, I've done that in the last 5 years, and I just know exactly what to do. It's just been doing it. 10 years in crypto is like many lifetimes in other industries. And I am very confident in what we're doing. I'm very confident in my ability to deploy into the future of the world. So I guess we will leave it at that.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for tuning in. Please feel free to contact us and get ready to get rock and roll, guys. Cheers.
Check your email, everyone. You'll get an invite. So go ahead and register. Thank you.
Bye-bye.